Welcome, one and all, to the show. Wired up, fired up, ready to go. Episode 35, the Mike Richter episode of BlueTruth, New York Rangers Talk with Brian Attard, powered by the Sportsbox Network. Like and follow on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, something else I can't even think of right now. YouTube. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Thank you for those who are joining the live stream, watching it live. If you are watching on YouTube, checking the replay, thank you for that as well. Hit that subscribe button. Maybe you'll catch the live stream one of these nights. Today is September the 21st, 2023. And tonight, kids, we find ourselves just days away from the first preseason game for the New York Rangers. An off season that too long, but it's coming to an end, thankfully. We're getting closer and closer to the start of the season, and when that first puck drops and the world begins again, you can feel it coming. We have 3 days right now to the first preseason game, maybe less, depending on when you're watching this. So it's coming, and it's coming quick. PJ, let's go. Boris, sup. Kurt, how are you? Cheers to you as well. You know, the good news is that the Rangers have already got a couple of wins under their belt. Your New York Rangers went ahead and swept the Flyers rookies of the 2023 Rookie Series. I was able to make it out there. There's my son, Braden, picture here with my wife. He had a great time. It's good to get him out to these games, get him into it. Last year, it was the Rangers dropped both of these games, and this year, Rangers won them both at the PPL Center in Allentown, Pennsylvania, where the AHL Lehigh Valley Phantoms play. If you follow BlueTruth, and if you don't, well, you should. But if you do, you were lucky enough I was able to find a link that the Flyers were streaming at least a Friday night game, and that was a pleasant surprise. No thanks to the Rangers for doing absolutely nothing for the fans that might want to watch a prospect game instead of a Knicks game from 1973 on MSG Network. We went with friends of ours who happen to root for the opposition, but that's okay. We had a great time. I saw Phil Housley and Michael Pekka in the lobby of the hotel. Rangers fans were well represented there, which was nice. Couple of my thoughts on the games. I thought that Dylan Garand, the goaltender, was just stellar in the Friday night game. Really played a nice game. Star of the game for me. I thought that Bobby Trevino was very noticeable in the Saturday game that I attended. And really, I know he scored the 2 goals, but that's not why I say that. He was involved in every shift. He reminds me, he's got some Ryan Callahan in him in that he plays that fearless type of game. He blocks shots. He does the little things. He's an older prospect, smaller prospect, but I was impressed by what I saw for him. Othman was just okay. I know plenty of you want to hear more. I wish I had more to tell you on Brennan Othman, but he turns pro this year. I don't know how seriously he was taking these games. I'm not going to read too much into that, but I think he had an assist the first game. I will say this. I came into this series of games expecting the Flyers to win both games again. And I say that because the Flyers are actually in this full tear down and rebuild, and the Rangers as an organization are well past that. So the Flyers had, really every one of their high profile guys outside of Cutter Gauthier and Matvei Michkov in this series. Bobby Brink was there, Tyson Forster, Emil Andre, Oliver Bonk was one of their first round picks this year. They're high on Helge Grans, who they got from LA, and the Provorov deal. I'm not expecting any of you to be gushing over these names, but I'm just saying that the Flyers had firepower in these games, and the Rangers won both. And when you look at the Rangers system right now, really, outside of Gabe Perreault, who just got drafted this year and obviously didn't play in the series, they really have a concentration of a bunch of guys who profile as like middle six guys, right? And I'm going to include Othman in that mix. You look at guys like Adam Sikora and Ryder Korzak and Brett Berard, all of which played in the games. And look, they're nice players. They're very useful players, valuable players, but they're not elite ceiling players. They're not the top line talent type of players. Gabe Perreault has that profile for sure. The other guys, I don't see it, and I'll happily be wrong there, but that's just not what I'm seeing right now. So the fact that the Flyers had the firepower they had in these series, and the fact that the Rangers won both games, that's great. It's all good. You really can't ask for anything more. The best case for me is, some of these kids, catch the eyes of some scouts elsewhere, show other teams a reason to, want to talk to the Rangers about acquiring them in a deal. I think the Rangers are more in that. Again, we're in that window right now, so I'm not really concerned about what prospects are necessarily doing for the team. But if you can get some value out of them, could be a piece for a trade this deadline, next deadline, whenever. I think that's probably the best option there. Tom O'Neill, Giants not out of the game yet, and it's past 9 p.m. Give them time; they'll get there. San Fran's going to blow them out of the water, double-digit win, unless Vegas decides not to. Joe Garcia, what's up, Brian? Sir, how are you? Patrick Hoffman, my brother. Flyers also just garbage, brother. Can't wait to see you. I just got my ticket allotment from my buddy Scott Spector, so I talked to your mom. We'll definitely try to coordinate. When I'm going to be there, it'll be great to see you. Section 115, row 22 of the greatest building on the planet. But yes, again, all good stuff from the prospect series. Recent comments were made by your head coach, Chris Drury, and by your GM, Chris Drury, and your head coach, Peter Laviolette. Chris Drury made his public appearance recently, had some really interesting comments. And just yesterday, Peter Laviolette had some media availability as well. But both have left lots to unpack as to what you can infer from what both the general manager and the coach said. And I think the overarching theme to a lot of what was said is that this year is going to be different than last year. And just because it was what it was last year doesn't mean we should expect it this year. And I know that you're going to say, Brian, what do you expect them to say? And yes, I get that. There's plenty of truth to that, but we'll kind of take them at face value for now, right? Tom O'Neill. Those two games meant more for the Rangers to stand out, in my opinion. Very little room in the Rangers lineup to break. I don't think there's any room, Tom. We'll get to that, but I hear what you're saying, and right. They can say whatever they want to about spots are open. We can romanticize about, making the team. They know who's on the team. They know who's on the team. Garrett Lutsky, hope all is well. Good to be back in a Ranger state of mind, brother. I'm always in a Ranger state of mind. But yes, it's closer and closer to when actually there's something to watch on TV. So I hear you there. Quote from Chris Drury here. I think all of our players understand the need that to have success in the regular season and in the playoffs, you have to be able to take care of all three zones. I think guys are ready to accept that challenge, end quote. So I read into that. And I read into that Chris Drury is well aware that there were structure problems with Gerard Gallant. And Peter Laviolette was brought in to provide structure where there was none. More on that to come in a bit. Drury also said, quote, he's good with where we're at with the players we signed, indicating that we're not going to see any significant PTO deals in camp. I know that's not a goalie today, but I mean of any kind of significance. And I'm not entirely surprised by that. Drury didn't have a bunch of money to work with, as is well documented, but he brought in quite a few players, and there's really no reason to really have. I remember Ryan Malone was on a PTO one time. I mean, I know Jimmy Vesey turned it into something, but that really wasn't really the plan. It just worked out. I think they have the guys that they want around to evaluate, round out the roster. And I was pretty vocal about this on our last show. I thought that Drury had an excellent offseason, all things considered. Limited cap space, some important needs to fill. I liked what I saw. And it seems like he's pretty comfortable with where we are. So, if he wasn't, then I think that they would have more of an appetite to bring in some PTOs. They don't lose anything. They get a free look at these guys to see where they can fit them. But I think that for the most part, they're happy with where they are. If you're watching the show, thank you for watching. If you can give us a like, we obviously love and appreciate that. That helps us break the Facebook algorithm, get our BlueTruth message out to more people. So thank you for that. Again, I think they have the pieces they want. He was asked about the grit on the team, annual topic, right? And if they had enough. And he said, I think we do. Wheeler plays hard. Pitlick plays hard. Jimmy has certainly transformed his game to play harder. Goody does. Benino's not scared of the greasy side of the game. I think we do have a lot of pieces who can play like that, and we can push our skill guys to play like that as well. What's interesting there to me is he named 5 of the presumptive top 6, bottom 6 there, in my opinion, right? All 5 of those names, plus another winger, is who I think will end up constituting the bottom 6. So, I think that's where he sees the grit coming from. Again, that annual discussion we all seem to have about, does this team have enough of it or any of it at all? And I like what I'm hearing for sure. And again, I have some thoughts about that later in the show. So stay tuned for that. So some comments coming in. Chris Fallon says Dave Birnbaum wants to invite to a game. The problem is, Chris, when I invite Dave to a game, he assumes that I'm going to pay for him. I don't know. I'm not going to do that. Tom O'Neill, do PTOs count against the cap for roster size? I couldn't find the answer. Well, I don't think so, because it's not really. You're talking about the 50 contracts. I don't think that might be. I don't know that to be sure, but I don't think that's the case. Could be wrong. I might take that offline and research it for you and see what I can find. But my suspicion is, I don't know that they do. I don't even know that it really matters. Because again, they're not under contract any more than preseason. So, yeah. Mark Brown, frequent watcher of the show, appreciate that. I think there will be some good players come cut time who will be around 800,000, very possibly. And again, you do want to keep that from around the league. Keep your options open in case somebody comes available that you had no thought or no way that was going to happen. Continuing on with things that Drury said. Now, he was asked specifically about Blake Wheeler, and he said, we're fortunate here, and I've said all along that I'm biased about this place, about the Shield, about our team and our city and our rank. I feel very fortunate a player like that took my call and wanted to come here. I do think it speaks to this place, what we offer, and it speaks to him where he wasn't chasing every last dollar. Clearly, the marquee name he signed, and it fit with the cap. End quote. And I don't think that we should minimize, I should say, what Wheeler can bring to this team. I really think he's going to be a very important player. If for whatever reason you see some struggles on the right wing, and again, we need to see how that's going to shake out, I think Wheeler is going to be the guy who is going to be relied on to be that veteran, steady presence. Because you're using youth for the most part in other spots, which again, that's the nature of it, and that's fine. You're planning for that. But I think that it's not just what he can do on the ice. I think that veteran presence is going to be useful. I'll leave it at that. Ray Leo, evening, sir. How are you? Hope all's well with you as well. No, Dave, there's not a poker game. On to Laviolette. Laviolette was on for 18 minutes yesterday, and there was a great clip on YouTube. You can watch that. It was really, really good, in my opinion. Said he's coming into camp, quote, a little wide open. I want to be wide open coming in here with what I see. Drury said he also encouraged Laviolette to, quote, have a fresh look and come with a new perspective. So follow the theme here, right? Both of them are looking at this as a complete fresh start for this group. A complete disconnect from last year and everything that went wrong with it. They're both saying all the right things, and I don't think you can ask for much more at this point. At the start of camp, a few days before the preseason, I think that you have to feel good about what you're hearing there. And again, is it PR talk? Is it, whatever? I get that. I'm a little happy with kind of what I've seen just from Laviolette, and that he appears to be a little bit more open and willing to actually talk to people. You never got any of that from Gerard Gallant. We'll talk about the ex-coach in a little bit here. Robert Scatini, Wheeler can easily step into the top six where he's been his whole career, but I hope he and Trocheck are third liners. I don't disagree with anything you just said right there. That's why I mean he can be that calming figure if he needs to be. Again, ideally, that's not what you want him to be, but it's okay. You're not even stuck with the guy for more than a year. So, good stuff there. Interesting comments were made in regards to Alexis Lafreniere and his path into the Rangers' top six being on the right side. Both Chris Drury and Peter Laviolette noted that Lafreniere would start camp on the right side. Laviolette said, quote, I did have conversations with him. It's not like I did it blindly. I had conversations with him about playing the offside. He expressed to me that he's comfortable with that and looks forward to that opportunity. I'm looking forward to giving it to him to see what he can do. Again, that doesn't mean you're not going to see him on the left side in camp either, end quote. That kid's is music to my ears. Episode 34, last show, we made the case that we really needed to get Lafreniere onto the right side to balance out the top six with the best six forwards. And I think they absolutely need to do that. No question about it. He has to make it there. Lafreniere himself said today, quote, I've always played left wing my whole career almost, but you've got to be able to play both. And I think for me, I can be good playing right too. I just have to adjust a little bit, and it's nothing big. Just try and get used to it. Arguably, you can make the case that if Lafreniere can't make it on the right side, that it's just not going to work here. Channeling my inner Frank Sinatra, if he can't make it there, he can't make it anywhere. He would very then likely have to be traded for a guy who can play the right side, because he's not a third line player. Just isn't. It has to work where he can be in a top six role, or changes have to come. They cannot get Chris Kreider off of this roster. They cannot get Artemi Panarin off of this roster. So he would be the odd man out. And if you project out moving forward, if it ends up that Kakko and Lafreniere take the top six right wings, and then Othman comes in next year, not this year, next year, and takes over one of the open wing spots on the third line, and you start to transition people up the lineup, that is a glide path for me. I can see that working. Lafreniere on the right side and being effective is, to me, the biggest story going into camp. And it's the biggest story going into camp because that's not just a this year story. That is a multi-year story, not just for the short term, but what is going to happen midterm and longer term with the structure of the entire roster. So again, that is a question that we really, really need to find an answer to, and I hope that we do, because we don't know what the future is going to look like. But for Lafreniere to be a part of it, giving your contracts to Panarin and Kreider, I think it has to be in the right wing. He says he can do it. We're going to see. PJ. Laf has to play right wing in order to get more ice time. He definitely needs more ice time. Interesting thought. Hold that thought. I have thoughts about that we're going to talk about in just a little bit. Chris Munch, welcome back. Blake definitely makes us better. The Laffy even strength goal stat is telling these top 6 minutes. Hold that thought. More to talk about that. But yes, I agree. Raylio, it sounds like Lafreniere isn't really open to change. Well, I don't know that he is or he isn't. I think he's going to play where he's going to play. The comments that he said, I mean, again, everybody's saying the right things. Now, is that public relations? Again, I can't rule that out. They can be very calculated with what they say to the media, knowing where it's going to go. But he's not saying no. The coach and the GM aren't saying we're not doing that. At this point, I don't know what more you can ask. So we'll see. We'll see where things go. Bill Jansen, hey, Brian, it's been way too long. I agree. Welcome back. You missed the show. Actually, it was a month ago. I can't. Time flies anymore, guys. Like I try to do this a little more often, but it's the way of the world. Thank God we're close to hockey time. Mark Brown, 2 big RFAs not signed yet. Pinto and Ottawa, Zegras and Anaheim, who's from Bedford, 45 minutes. Yes. Yeah, but there's no way that they can fit Zegras under there's no way. Lafreniere's not making that much. Like that. Zegras is a pipe dream, and I don't see that happening. I would absolutely be thrilled if it did. I don't see it. But that's just my take on it. So now I want to give you 5 reasons why BlueTruth is bullish on the Rangers this season. By no means is this a season preview. I'm not doing that tonight. I'm not making any predictions necessarily tonight. We'll save that content for getting closer to the regular season. But I wanted to share with you 5 reasons why I am very constructive on the team. And maybe you will share that excitement when I pose these to you. I'll be curious what you think. PJ Gregoretti, Wheel's a great guy for those young players to have around, teaching to be professionals. I agree. Zegras does not want to play for the Devils. Grew up a Ranger fan. No person growing up a Ranger fan wants to play for the Devils if given the option. So, reason number 1 to be bullish on the Rangers is the way the season last year ended. You know very well how you felt at the end of last season. A lot of people still feel that way. I read the comments, I see it all over. People are not over last year. People are still not over the way they lost that series. And I can't sit here and say that I'm surprised by it, but think of it this way. You know how you feel. Don't you think the players feel it too? Don't you think they were absolutely crushed the way last season ended? Granted, it was nobody's fault but their own, and we have no impact on it. But do you really believe that the players just don't care? I've said on the show before that when seasons end the way they do, it makes you reflect on your own mortality, because when they die, you die too. And it's one less year, one last chance you will have as a fan to see them win it for you. They feel it too. Nothing is ever guaranteed in sports. There's never a guarantee that any of them ever get back to the conference finals that they were in 2 years ago. None at all. And that team last year that flamed out had a ton of talent on it. And they were up 2-0 going home that they dominated. They know the opportunity that they squandered with that group and what that group could have done. Put me in the camp that says last year was one of those, to quote Dream On, one of my favorite songs, you've got to lose to know how to win situations. I expect them to come out looking to atone for it. I think that you're going to see a motivated group. And Vincent Trocek's comments today were very indicative of that. That, he said, I don't have the exact quote in front of me, but that this team's been waiting to take that step for a long time. It needs to be this year. Bullshit's got to stop. I'm paraphrasing, but that's pretty much what he said. I think that they know they only have so many more shots at it, especially the leadership group. I was watching Blue Shirt Underground prior to the show tonight, and if you're not watching those guys, Jim and Eddie, you need to love them. They're phenomenal. And Jim brought up a great point, and he said, this group's not going to get another head coach. This is the last one. So again, they know that they're running out of runway. How many times have we said on this show that the window to win is just not that long? That when you have a forward group led by a 30-year-old Mika Zibanejad, a 31-year-old Artemi Panarin, and a 32-year-old Chris Kreider, that you don't have that many swings of the bat to win a championship. We know, and they know. They very much know. And I think that will be a driving factor for the team this year. 2022, to be fair, they overachieved. They made the playoffs. Should have probably lost to the Penguins. Should have probably lost to Carolina. They did. And then they blew their chance against Tampa. It's hard to be, as a professional, it's hard. Yes, you're upset you lost, right? But it's hard to be overly cut up when, yes, you didn't get to the ultimate goal, but you exceeded every and all expectation anybody had for you. That's different, right? If the Buffalo Sabres make the playoffs this year and win a round and then they lose, I mean, the fans are fine with that. It's a step in the right direction. Young team, so it's different. The Rangers 2 years ago exceeded expectations, and then the expectations came on them last year. They failed to meet them. But I think the sting of how last year ended will be there, and it will motivate them throughout the year, the same way that it bothers all of you. I think it applies to them too. Dima, good evening, Ranger fans. With the current available cap space, how much cap space does that translate into in time for the trade deadline? Not a lot, but we'll see how that goes. It's so hard to project, right? Because of what you can do moving players up, players down, and stuff to bank more. You don't know what the team's going to look like. That's a conversation we probably start having in November, but not a lot, right? Thank you. Artemi Panarin shaved his head. Bad juju. Yes, John, we know why. He said it was like to get the demons out. Whatever your reason is. I mean, again, they feel it too, and I think that's what I'm saying. It's always going to be the fans that get hurt, right? The fans put their hearts into it. I mean, look, if you go back and watch my post-mortem, I mean, I was in rare form because it's emotional, but they know. They know that last year was not the way they want to be remembered. They know that they only have so many shots at it. So I expect them to be a different team this year. I was at game 2 in Jersey, walked out. Of course. How could you, PJ? How could you not? It was 2 5-1 wins against, and they were just completely dominant. And you're going home. You're like, this baby's over. Little did we know. Of course, we should have known. It's what this franchise does. Score update, like I said, Sorry, 17-3. So there's my 10 points. I said they were going to cover the 10 points. Does that mean you're going to see Aerosmith in December? No, probably not. Keith Gersh. Keith, I don't recognize your name, so thank you for watching for the first time. Hopefully you'll give us a like. Appreciate the time here. If you've been here before, I apologize for not remembering. How old was Messier when he led the Rangers to the Cup in 1994? Let's find out. Now I got to go look. So I'm going to do a very quick Google search. Mark Messier, the man, the myth, the legend. I'll go to hockeyreference.com. And in 1993-94, he was 33 years old. That's actually older than I thought. So, you know. Yeah, but Keith, I mean, Mark Messier was an all-time great. Are you going to put Artemi Panarin and Chris Kreider in the same measure or same level as Mark Messier? I wouldn't. Not yet. Not yet. Oh, 33. You were looking up for me. Thank you. But it was 33. Glenn, I really think this coaching staff will demand accountability unlike previous ones. Hold that thought. It's coming soon. Ray Leo, that's an interesting point about the coach. At least they didn't hire Babcock. Yeah. And Glenn Sather wanted them to. Thank God. Thank God. Kurt, my brother, stop crying about the coaching staff. It's on the players now. No more bullshit excuses. No, yeah. Again, I have a lot to say about that. So I'm going to get to reason number 2 to be bullish on the Rangers. And that is that the coaching change will bring structure. Gerard Gallant had no structure at all. None. Say it again and say it loud. Gerard Gallant had no structure at all. Now, with that in mind, looking through the lens of Gerard Gallant had no structure at all, doesn't a lot of last year and really 2022 as well make a lot more sense? If the head coach offered no structure, would it not make sense that the team was abysmal at 5-on-5? If the coach offered no structure, would it not make sense that the young players, the kids, played a hell of a lot better with each other than they did with the veterans? If the coach offered no structure, would it not make sense that the defensive zone coverage was an adventure night in and night out? This is not my opinion. This is very much out there. The exit interviews were essentially deemed a cry for help from the players who wanted structure. How do you expect younger players to learn and advance and develop without coaching? The 35-minute optional practices, I guess, weren't really doing a whole lot, were they? Structure was not Gerard Gallant's strong suit. I don't think he had it in his closet at all. So we must have been this great motivational guy. Okay. Well, like Matt Foley, if you those who remember Chris Farley and SNL, if the coach was this great motivator, why did the captain have to throw his helmet in early December to wake the team up? Did you know from that date when the helmet was thrown to when the games really stopped mattering in early April, didn't matter what they did at that point, the only team in the league that put up more points than the Rangers were the Boston Bruins, who, I might remind you, set a new NHL record for points in a season. If the coach was this great motivator, why was the goaltender coming out of the crease and yelling at the players on the bench in Game 5 against the Devils to wake up? If the coach was this great motivator, why was the team just totally dead as soon as the Devils found a way to sneak Game 3 at the Garden? I've heard this argument that, oh, well, Gerard Gallant led the team to back-to-back 100-point seasons, and that's got to count for something. Are you sure about that? Was that Gerard Gallant's coaching? Or was that Igor Shesterkin? We've kind of seen that movie before, right? Like where a Rangers goaltender bails a team out a lot. Kind of saw that movie for a good portion of the last decade and a half. And while we're on the topic, is 100 points all that impressive anymore in an era of 3-point games? Would they have had 100 points if Jacob Trouba didn't wake them up in December? Call me crazy, but I really do think that the change from Gerard Gallant to Peter Laviolette is going to be a very, very big and positive change. Laviolette is not going to just, quote, let the players handle it. Letting the players handle it leads to the veterans playing dipsy doodle while the kids try to figure it out on their own, and nobody is playing any defense, and the goalie is just bailing everyone out. The Rangers are going to have structure this year. Offensive zone, neutral zone, defensive zone, all of it. It's not going to be a let the players handle it year. And did that work a bit? To be fair, yeah, it did. But they ran out of miracles in 2022, and then 2023 was an abject disaster. There is a reason that Gerard Gallant doesn't last very long wherever he goes. Didn't change in New York. And now that chapter is over. Peter Laviolette's going to be a very big change, and for me, a very positive one. And not just him. I think the staff he's put together is going to provide a lot more coaching, adjustments. I don't even think Gerard Gallant adjusted his pants as a head coach of the Rangers. Dan Muse, Michael Pekka, Phil Housley. I love the direction. It is a direction that is very different from where we've been because the previous guy didn't have any. And that is something I think we should be really excited about with this team. Some more comments coming in. Ray Leo, Gallant not having structure is why he never lasted more than 3 years at a stop. That's correct. Keith Gersh, Othman's probably not making the team. Othman has played exactly 0 years of pro hockey. I don't think they're going to just jump him into New York. Don't think they have to. If he earns it, he earns it. I personally don't see it. Al Rastelli, I think if you get more structure, Pennsylvania will be okay. I get one of the top goalies in the world, but I still believe you need to bring some of the kids up to get some experience. I think we're getting along better. I love Othman. Would love to see him make the team this year. I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening. Schneider is stud as well, only 22. He had a boner for laughing. Salvatore Turk with no lineup adjustments. Devils adjusted 3 times in the series. Devils won the series, Sal. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There you go, bud. Mark Brown's always good for like that zinger. I love that about Mark. Where do they hang the 100-point season banners? Yep. 100-point means nothing. Get your ass in the playoffs. Yep. No, Mike Dunham did not. Mike Dunham. We're number 32. Kurt, is the games haven't lost the coach's fault when a veteran team with a top goalie? What will the excuse be this year if they get bounced early? The team goes as the goalie goes as is currently constructed. Well, maybe, but I would like to see if you had a little bit of structure, if maybe you don't have to rely on your goalie as much. Maybe you actually play some defense. Maybe there's neutral zone defensive coverage. Maybe there's something that is any kind of resistance to the opposition. I don't think they did a lot of that last year. I think they were waiting for someone to go on a power play. Hold that thought. Robert Scatini, he's not afraid to hold players accountable for sure. I would agree. Josh Schwader from my friends. Oh, Banter Sports. You got to check out Banter Sports. Go Stars. I'm just here to boost your algo. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Velasquez, will the Rangers have more or less points this season? I don't know, and I don't care. I don't care. They're going to be top 3 in their division. Where they fall, I don't know. You can say they're probably finished 3rd. No one's going to catch them from behind. Those teams stink. Maybe they don't catch the Devils. Maybe they don't catch Carolina. I don't know. What I do know is the regular season to me is literally about getting systems in place to go into the playoffs and try to win something. That's my thing. They have always relied on the goalie since Hank, and that's a problem. When you had Tampa Bay didn't rely on Vasilevsky. I mean, they did, but they didn't, right? Like they had the ability to win if he was having a bad night. I don't know that this team has that ability, right? It has had that ability if Igor's having an off night. Chris, I agree the Rangers ended the season with a sting. I also think Boston and Toronto will be the teams to beat. Toronto getting tougher with Revo and Domi. Yeah, Toronto has no goaltending, and Boston lost real big pieces. I'm really expecting a step back from Boston. We'll get in a season preview at some point later on. I'm not going to get into that necessarily tonight. I'm not concerned about Boston. Toronto, that's fine. Yes, Kurt, I expect a big drop off in Boston. I am not certain Boston makes the playoffs. Huge. Look, to lose Bergeron like that and Krejci, like those big pieces. And I think that they're kind of starting this like semi-rebuild now. And there's John right there. Boston misses the playoffs this year. I can see it. 100%. Absolutely. It wouldn't shock me at all. After what happened to them last year and then with retiring, those guys, new captain. If you want me to start listing teams I'm worried about, I'm listing a lot of teams before I list Boston. Mark Brown. There is a reason McCarthy didn't follow Laviolette to New York. Laviolette is teaching Pekka Ermuse to be the next head coach with Halsey as their assistant. Well, that's fair. Yeah. I mean, I know they keep saying they're grooming Chris Knobloch. I mean, who knows? But yeah. People, get worried about Pittsburgh. I ain't worried about Pittsburgh. I'm not worried about the Islanders. I'm not worried about teams behind us. I am, again, look forward. I think they're at worst the 3 seed in the Metro. I don't see a scenario that's any different than that. Reason number 3 to be bullish on the Rangers. The coaching change. It will bring balance to the power play. It'll bring balance to the force. Gerard Gallant's version of running a power play was to put 4 veteran forwards and Adam Fox out there for a minute 40 and let them see if they could score a goal. And then if they didn't, then they would change over with about 20 seconds left for the second unit, which didn't give them any time to get a zone entry. We're a few months detached from this now, guys. Like, does that really make sense? Alexis Lafreniere is this all-time massive bust, but Alexis Lafreniere has more even strength goals than everybody on the roster, not named Kreider or Panarin, since he's gotten into the league. So what's that tell you? Alexis Lafreniere has 105 less power play minutes as a Ranger than Ryan Strome does. And Ryan Strome wasn't on the team last year. Zibanejad, Fox, Kreider, and Panarin have averaged a total over the last 3 years of 705 power play minutes. Then there's Strome, and then Lafreniere is 6th with 274. Kakko, not even 200 minutes. Over 3 years. But he doesn't have the production number, so he's a bust, right? Yeah, sure. Are Alexis Lafreniere and Kaapo Kakko busts, or have Alexis Lafreniere and Kaapo Kakko not been afforded any of the benefits a top pick that normally goes to a dumpster fire team gets, such as top 6 minutes and power play time? Because at even strength, Alexis Lafreniere has more goals than Mika Zibanejad. And everybody else that's not named Artemi Panarin and Chris Kreider. I push back on this a ton. You know why Tim Stutzel's got all these great numbers in Ottawa? Top 6 minutes from the jump, power play from the jump. They get the opportunities. Kako and Lafreniere have not. The Rangers have not had an actual second power play unit going back to David Quinn. And then we're surprised, or we act surprised, that 4 players on the team get all the points. Well, okay, that doesn't make sense to you? Why that would make, do the math. Peter Laviolette's going to bring balance to the power play, and you will not see this top unit just completely dominate ice time. And in that scenario, you will certainly see more spread out power play production. It's not going to just be super concentrated amongst the 4 guys. And that really is what you want. You want there to be the threat of a second unit, especially given the fact that the first unit can and has been streaky at times. And when they go cold, the second unit can pick up some slack. Now, I think you'll surely see those 4 on power play 1. I would think either Kako, Chytil, or Lafreniere most likely is the 5th wheel on that. But I think the second unit gets the other 2 that aren't. Add maybe a Wheeler, maybe K'Andre Miller. I think Eric Gustafson's going to get some power play time. I think he played that role for Laviolette in Washington. We'll see how it breaks down. But you're not going to see power play 1 take a minute and a half anymore. And that's a good thing for everyone, in my opinion. Kurt, I worry about the Devils and their speed. The Rangers are one of the slower teams. Well, what I don't worry about is Devils goaltending. And I agree, the Devils are, they're a good team. I'm not going to sit here and bash the Devils. I mean, again, I think Carolina is the class of the division. Devils might be a bit ahead of themselves. Rangers have lots of skill, but low speed. Well, yeah. Again, that is how they're built. I mean, they are no longer about. For a while there, they were the young team. They're definitely not anymore, right? That we're past that. That's why the window, I think, is only so long. But I don't think that you need to necessarily be go all the time to be effective if you're defending better. That's where the structure comes in. PJ, Kako and Laff need ice time. Get into that. Peter, my brother, Kako, Laffy, Chytil, key to the Rangers' success still. Could not agree more. Ray Leo, a Devils fan, he understands it, right? So you think of all these teams, right? You think of the Torontos, right? Right now, you can make a correlation between, not a great one, but the Devils might be Toronto 2.0. And Toronto couldn't get out of the first round forever, and Toronto hasn't had goaltending. Can the Devils go get one? Maybe. Have they gotten one yet? No. So assume that they don't. They need one if they're going to go anywhere. I don't think Vitek again, don't look at it like, oh, the Rangers made them look great. Rangers sucked in that series for 5 games. So, okay, like, great. Carolina wiped their ass with the Devils shortly thereafter, right? So, was that a Devils being good, or were we just really bad? It's okay. It is what it is. We're past it now. New year. Fate of the team depends on all 5 former first-rounders validating getting chosen in the first round, referring to Laffy, Chytil, Kako, Miller, and Schneitz. I'm 100% confident they do that at all. They all do that at once this season. Well, I think, again, as I move to reason 4, why to be bullish on the Rangers, the kids will now be given the opportunity. I really feel that we are on the precipice of the distinct possibility that the 3 members of the long-tailed kid line, which will live in infamy, will be in top 6 roles. And that should excite all of you. For this team to reach any level of potential, as has been commented by a very knowledgeable fan base, because I know you are, I think it's imperative that their top 6 be their best 6. And for me, their best 6 is Mika, Artemi, Kreider, Chytil, Kako, and Lafreniere. And I know that I'm talking a lot about coaching tonight. That's for good reason. Because that, above all, is the big change from last year. If you haven't gathered, I think it's fantastic. I think Laviolette is the right hire. I think the fresh air that Laviolette brings is going to bring with it the genuine opportunity for the 3 kids to be top 6 guys that they didn't have previously. We talked about the lack of structure on this team leading to the veterans meshing with the veterans and the kids meshing with the kids. I think we're way past that now. I think in Gallant's shoes, as someone who was not some master tactician, that maybe it was just never going to work with the kids deferring to the vets, and that's where the kid line was born. He saw that the kids were struggling to play with these veterans. They would defer the puck to them, and maybe it just didn't work, which is why they ended up together. I think the way the roster breaks down, I know that there's an argument that you can have an optimal lineup without having the 3 kids in the top 6. I think, the advanced stats will play this out. Kakko fit really well with Kreider and Zibanejad. Hedo's been talking about he wants to shoot more. Well, that's great. Artemi Panarin's a great distributor. Lafreniere can kind of do a little bit of both. And he physical player. Not really what you want from your 1 pick, but that's fine. I think ideally that's your mix in the top 6. If you think about it like 2 Tetris pieces, 2 L's, it's the vets and the kids, and it makes that L. I think that's a reason to be excited. And let's be fair. If I'm right, as I mentioned earlier in the show, that the kids in the system are overwhelmingly middle 6 type guys, and look, I'd obviously love to be wrong about that, but let's say that I'm not, then they desperately need Kakko and Lafreniere to pan out, because they're the potential top-end elite guys, right? Like, they're the ones that move the calendar forward 2-3 years, need to be slotted ahead of these middle 6 guys they have in their system. Just progression all the way through. So, as has been commented, they need the opportunity. And with the opportunity, production will follow. And when production follows, it'll be a miracle. Oh, they're not busts anymore. Kids that get drafted high go to dumpster fires, and they're given all the ice time. Didn't happen here. I am not going to sit here and write either of these 2 kids off, because I know the team is not putting them in any position to succeed. I think that changes now. And that's a reason to be excited for me. Winnipeg's trying hard to trade Hellebuck, and New Jersey is interested. Yeah. Are they going to give him away? Probably not. What's Jersey going to give him? Other teams might be interested for goaltending too. Plus, he's not signed. He's a free agent. Whatever. It's fine. No, I would split them up. I would put Kakko in the first line, and then I put Hedel and Laffy with Panarin. That would be what I would do. Clearly, I have no say, but that would be what I would do. I think that's the mix. That makes sense. And then that creates a third line with Vincent Trocheck, Blake Wheeler, and probably Goodrow, maybe Jimmy Vesey, one of those 2. And then the other probably plays with Pitlick and Bonino on the 4th line. That's just the way I see the forward lines coming out. That's what I would do. That's the mix that speaks to me. PJ, Panarin has to stop with the same entry into offensive zone. He goes down the left wing, puts on the brakes, the top of the circle, looks to pass. Okay, perfect. PJ, that's an excellent point. Maybe that's what he does because there's no structure. Maybe if the team works on some neutral zone plays and some zone entries, that's not that, things are going to be okay. So again, like I've mentioned coaching a lot, but I really think that that's a big change. Positively. At least has the potential to be very positively. My opinion. And I think Laviolette was the right guy. Again, I would have loved to see Joel Quenneville. That ship obviously was never going to happen. So in lieu of that, okay. Not to mention Peter has a history of killing his first year. Yep. Again, I think they're primed for it. Mark, Panarin, Hedel, Lafreniere. Panarin with 2 of the better 5-on-5 and 2-way players help with Panarin turnovers, plus Panarin finding Lafreniere with those laser passes so he can shoot. Hedel can shoot too. Hedel said he really didn't shoot that much, and he hit obviously career highs of goals last year. Again, I think there's something there. I would love to see that. Reason number 5 to be bullish about the Rangers is that everyone is just so negative right now. Everyone is so negative right now. Obviously, look, you're all active on social media and Rangers groups. That's probably how you found BlueTruth. But when I tell you that this fan base is just so negative, I can't say it enough. People think literally everybody sucks. Not one player is spared, right? Panarin, terrible in the playoffs. He's done. Zibanejad had 1 goal. He stinks. Lafreniere stinks. Kakko stinks. Hey, you see Fox in Game 7? He was awful. Where was Shesterk when they needed a save? Everyone was under attack and still is. And the vitriol has not subsided at all from April. I have not seen this cloud of negativity since probably 2013. Now, I work in the investment world, and to give you a correlation to what I do for a living, it's one of the sayings in our business is, when everyone is selling is when you should be buying, when there's blood in the streets. I don't think the fan base has been almost as universally negative about the team to this extent in a very long time. And we went through a rebuild where everybody was sold off. Again, 2013, I guess, probably when they lost to the Bruins in the second round, which you may recall that following them losing to the Bruins in the 2013 playoffs, they made a coaching change and went to the finals. Interesting. There is something about this team, this franchise, that when they have expectations, they find a way to fall flat more often than not. Let's take a step back and see where we find ourselves, what we can draw from it about this season. If you want to draw the connection to 10 years ago, the story played itself out largely the same way. In 2012, you had a team that kind of came out of nowhere to be really good, get into the playoffs, struggle in round 1, but get through in 7, struggle in round 2, but get through in 7, and then lose in 6 in round 3. And then the following year, expectations were high. Why not? Came out of nowhere, conference finals, next step, right? Because everyone thinks everything's just in a line. You lose the conference finals, make sure you go to the finals. Team was out early. Second round loss to Boston in 2013. And then that summer, as we mentioned, coach was fired, replaced by a guy who had been around the league, and that team went to the finals. It has happened before. Happened again for the Rangers. Think back to 1992. They came out of nowhere in 92 when they got Mark Messier to win the President's Trophy. They struggled to get out of round 1, but they did in 7 against the Devils, and then lost to Mario's Penguins. Following year, 92-93, sky high expectations. What the Rangers do? Missed the playoffs. Then what happened? Coach got fired, brought in Mike Keenan. They won the Stanley Cup. Are we really? Look, I was bothered more than anybody. I live and die with this team. If you ever see my MSG commercial, I said, and it was just a natural, when I was being interviewed, that, every third thought in my mind is about the team, and I can't turn it off, and I can't turn it off, and that's exactly real. It might even be 1 out of 2 now. Are we really going to allow those 5 games to change our entire view of the team moving forward? Are those 5 games enough to just sour you on the whole thing? I think that mindset is very short-sighted. How many teams in the league can say that they have a Vezina-winning goaltender and a Norris-winning defenseman? Who else? I guess Tampa. I guess that's it, with Hedman and Vasilevsky. I see people say all the time, oh, Artemi Panarin is soft. Do you want Panarin to go knock someone over? Is that what you want? Is that what you want your 92-point forward doing, is knocking people over? Adam Fox, 72 points last year. Panarin and Fox had 26 and 25 hits last year. Is that what you think is holding them back? That Artemi Panarin is soft? That's the problem? Alexei Lafreniere, who some of you want to put on a rocket and launch to the moon, had 141 hits. The argument that they need certain guys to play with more grit, or whatever the hell you choose to call it, it is total nonsense. It's not their game. Do you think William Nylander from Toronto is a good player? I do. Doesn't hit anybody. 18 hits last season, 82 games. He also had 40 goals and 47 assists. Sure, we'd love that. Does he need more grit? You want him to go fight someone? Doesn't make sense. If you watch this show, I was banging the table to go get Jack Eichel out of Buffalo. More than anybody. Missed opportunity, in my opinion. It is what it is. 59 hits last year. 66 points. Won a Stanley Cup. Does Jack Eichel need to be grittier? Jason Robertson. 109 points last year for the Dallas Stars. We'd love him here. Only 57 hits, though. We don't want that guy. That guy's not gritty enough. Jack Hughes. Jack Hughes soft. Jack Hughes had 99 points last year. You know how many hits? 12. A dozen over the course of the season. Does Jack Hughes need grit? Or does he just need to score? You know, ironically, everyone who thinks Keandre Miller is soft as Charmin and doesn't do anything, but his 162 hits last year were third on the team behind Trouba and Trocheck. What's that? Is he soft? Is him and Panarin both soft? For what reason? Everyone hates every player. That's the negativity's through the roof. Meanwhile, DraftKings gives the Rangers the 7th best odds in the league to win the whole damn thing at plus 1,300. And that's just behind Las Vegas, who actually did win the whole thing last year. So, I mean, this negativity, is it forward looking or is it just backward looking? And you just can't get it out of your head. Players have different roles. Not everyone is going to be this in-your-face physical player. Not everyone is going to be the big time goal scorer either. That's okay. That's hockey. And might I remind you, if you're hitting someone, that means they have the puck and you don't. And if they have the puck and you don't, they can score and you can't. It is when the vibe is at its worst. When expectations are at their lowest is when things find a way to actually work out for this team. Buy when everyone else is selling. I am buying this team right now. Time will tell how good or bad that investment is. But the level I'm buying it at is a lot lower than it was at this time last year. And I really think people's view of what they think the team is going to be able to do is based entirely on what last year's team did. Which is kind of the same thing they did last year with the team out of 2022. Team came out of nowhere, went to the conference finals. Oh, we're going to the finals then. Oh, God, the team lost 5 ugly games. The Devils team stinks. They're going to miss the playoffs. Confirmation bias and reactionary. Again, if your primary reason for being negative is what happened last year, it's backward looking. Do you not think? Do you think that again, they were bulldozed in the regular season once they got their shit together? With a better coach and systems and concepts and accountability, like you don't think that that's going to be a better result with that goaltender and Adam Fox? Just being too negative. You say Lavi and Drury said all the right things, whether it's PR or not. Article on I don't like owning sports teams. He throws out fans. He considers himself an employee. Yeah, well, what are you going to do? He owns the team. You sound like a trader. No, I'm a certified financial planner, John. I that's what I do. I help people reach their financial goals. It's an extremely rewarding career. Been in the business now 17 years. I'm aging myself. But no, but again, it's one of those things where I talk to a lot of people who are self-directed traders and they end up blowing up their own accounts all the time, and it happens. PJ, the Rangers, the Mets of hockey. Please don't say that. Ugh. The Mets. I'm a Yankee fan. Sal, without Panarin, you don't even make the playoffs. I agree with that. I mean, I think they probably still do because of the goaltender, but they're a wild card then at best, in my opinion. They don't need to be tough or have grit. They need to just stand up for their teammates and themselves. That's all we need. Well, that's what Trouba does. and Trocheck. And Wheeler's got size. Like Drury said, like like they've put the pieces together. I just think it's weird to expect these finesse type players to all of a sudden become not that. I see a lot of comments like everybody sucks. Everybody sucks. Don't need Panarin hit and even to score in the planes. Listen, yeah. But Mark, wouldn't you agree that if there's like some kind of like system in there, that maybe it wouldn't be entirely up to Panarin to figure it out on his own? And maybe like the players that he plays with might know where they're going to go? Has Panarin kept the same line mates at all? Like it's easy to pile in on him. And I did too afterwards. I said, listen, the two biggest reasons you lost this series were Italian Panarin and Mika Zibanejad, which is not fun, because if it was Patrick Kane and Vladimir Tarasenko, you can write that off. They're not here anymore. So like you did need a coaching change. And I think that was the best thing for him. And someone said there's no more excuses. Yeah, there's no more excuses. Like you're not going to get another coach. This is what you got. Thank you. Sal, that contract scares the hell out of me. I'm getting PTSD about Dan Girardi with that Ryan Lindgren contract. Got to be honest with you. Very, very, very concerned about that. PJ Trouba voted the most hated player in the league. Good. Screw him. So that's kind of where I'm at. Those are my 5 reasons for being bullish, for being excited on the Rangers. Last year's over. Are we walking into this year with the same vibe we walked into last year? No. What's it really mean, though? I mean, are you as a Ranger fan really ready to just write them off right now because they lost ugly to the Devils? I'm not. Because I think that the pieces are still there. Blake Wheeler thinks the pieces are here. That's why he came here. I mean, people keep getting attracted to this team. Like they see a reason to be. Like I said, how many teams have a Norris Trophy winner and a Vezina winner? It's hard, right? So, last look at the comments. Will they put Quick in a playoff game? I sure hope not. That would mean Igor probably broke something. Alyssa Hoffman, we need sometimes a Trouba tantrum. Listen, that's great. I mean, but and that worked out awesome, right? But I coach can handle that. The big tell for me when the season starts is that the high leverage turnovers drop for Panarin and Miller. Yeah, I would agree with that. Because again, but Garrett, again, I would tell you that I think that happens because there's more structure around, and it's okay. Like that's where Gallant just, again, Gallant let a veteran team do what they wanted, and it worked to an extent. And then it didn't. And when it didn't, they were gone. I agree fully with the coaching change. I might be more excited about the staff than about the team. Listen, you go look up Dan Muse and some of his like YouTube videos. Like that's exciting stuff. Dan Muse has a future, and I'm thrilled that he's on this team for sure. Sam, new year, new coach. See how they come out on the ice. Trouba is still the captain. Yes. Best open ice clean hitter in the league as well. Borelli's can't have great food, PJ. Islanders fans go there, and Islanders fans are losers. I know you want me to come. I know you do. Anyway, that kind of wraps up tonight. Next show, I don't have anything on the calendar, but I'm probably going to wait for a couple of preseason games so we kind of have something to talk about, right? Again, I am not expecting a lot as far as roster battles. There's not really that many things that aren't, I think, already determined. I think we have the puzzle pieces. It's just how they're going to fit together. And I think that that's what you're going to get out of preseason more than anything. So, we'll see where that goes. Lines are going to be what the story of the preseason to me. We have the pieces. We'll see how they kind of fit together. Thank you so much for watching. It's been a blast. Thank you for all your support. If you haven't gone ahead and given a like, please go ahead and do that. Whenever you like one of our live broadcasts, Facebook takes that and sends it out to more people. So that means that our platform continues to grow. I think I have over 5,600 followers, which is awesome. I can't thank you guys enough for that. That makes everything worth it. That makes the prep time and the time we take together, that makes it worth its weight in gold. And we're right there. We're right there. We got a game Sunday night. We got a game that means absolutely nothing, that half the teams not going to play, but we got a game Sunday night. Something to start looking as to what this team is going to look like. We'll give it a couple games. I'll probably schedule something in about maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks, and then I'll try to. I noticed that if I give at least like 2 days notice, more people find it. So I'm going to try to push for that next, just so you guys have some more advanced notice. Cheers to you, Kurt. PJ, great time. Thank you. I would think so. I would think it's on MSG or NHL Network or something. I mean, I can't imagine you're not going to. If the Rangers don't show a preseason game, they're dumb. You can sell ads for that. Alyssa, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate that. Appreciate you all. Everything you guys do, everything. It makes this a lot more fun for me. You guys make the show. I know you don't think you do, but you do. So on behalf of BlueTruth, thank you so much for watching. Catch the couple games, and we'll reconnect really soon. It's coming soon. Let's go Rangers.